Okay, so y'all know I don't trust Pam, right? Y'all know I don't trust her, right? So I'm gonna just say this $1 million question. I will tell you that according to the bill that was filed and signed into law, they are supposed to release it within 30 days. I just want to remind y'all that Oversight has had outstanding subpoenas to the DOJ, and thanks to the Epstein estate, we getting stuff. That's all I gotta say. So, and Pam she was stuttering the other day at a press conference. I think it was yesterday. She was like, right. So I fully anticipate she's going to say we've got ongoing investigations, even though she had previously announced that there was nothing to investigate. But now she's like, well, we've got new information from the estate. And it's like, well, girl, if y'all were doing your jobs and you were doing the investigatory work, then y'all would have had this.
This may look like a live stream reacting to breaking news, but it's actually a stress test of institutional credibility. What's really being tested here is whether transparency is governed by law or by political convenience. This raises broader questions about how accountability functions when oversight stalls and public trust erodes. In this video, we'll break down how delays, contradictions, and institutional silence transform a legal obligation into a democratic fault line.
So, let me see. All right. Will the Republicans do anything about Trump? They have been trying to censor people all week. Child, listen. I think we're at a record for censors. I really do. Like, you don't, I mean, y'all, somebody on the internet, y'all can go Google this and figure it out. But I don't know that we've ever had 3 censor motions in 1 week. We usually don't have 3 in a year. Like, it was very rare. Yeah. And that's where we are. Do I think that the Republicans are going to do anything about him? It just depends. I think the more that they see the writing on the walls, as we go through these special elections, as we look at the numbers, I think November 4th was a wake-up call. I think that's one of the reasons that some of them are like, maybe not so much, because baby, he on his way out, whether he like it or not. You get 2 terms maximum as president in these United States, okay? And some of them want to stick around for a while. Some of them want to have political careers. And it's going to crash and burn if your only answer is to do whatever Donald Trump told you to do. It is. That's not sustainable, like, whatsoever. And I think some people are waking up to that. But I think, the more that people show up to their town halls, the more that we show up at all these other elections and overperform, I think the more likely it is that we start to see some movement. From TikTok, when will the Epstein files come out? Okay, so y'all know I don't trust Pam, right? Y'all know I don't trust her, right? So I'm gonna just say this $1 million question. I will tell you that according to the bill that was filed and signed into law, they are supposed to release it within 30 days. I just want to remind y'all that Oversight has had outstanding subpoenas to the DOJ, and thanks to the Epstein estate, we getting stuff. That's all I gotta say. So, and Pam she was stuttering the other day at a press conference. I think it was yesterday. She was like, right. So I fully anticipate she's going to say we've got ongoing investigations, even though she had previously announced that there was nothing to investigate. But now she's like, well, we've got new information from the estate. And it's like, well, girl, if y'all were doing your jobs and you were doing the investigatory work, then y'all would have had this too, right? Or am I wrong? Maybe Pam don't know nothing about trying cases. Again, she about to lose that Comey case. Hell, they lost the sandwich case, y'all. They lost the sandwich assault case. The fact that they brought a sandwich assault case is just okay, I'm done with that part. Let me move to the next.
The moment unfolds almost casually, but its weight is unmistakable. In the middle of a discussion about accountability, Representative Jasmine Crockett pivots to a question that has lingered for years, one that refuses to fade quietly. She speaks about trust, or rather the absence of it. She recalls a recent press conference describing hesitation, pauses, and uncertainty from Attorney General Pam Bondi when asked about the Epstein files. A brief stumble in speech becomes more than a verbal misstep. In Crockett's telling, it becomes a symbol, a visible crack in the official narrative, exposed under public scrutiny. This is how power often reveals itself in Washington, not through grand confessions or dramatic resignations, but through moments like this. A pause, a contradiction, a sudden shift from confidence to caution. Crockett points to the law itself, noting that legislation required the release of materials within a defined time frame. 30 days. Clear language, clear intent. And yet, instead of clarity, the public is met with delays, explanations, and a familiar refrain about ongoing matters. The promise of transparency collides with the reality of institutional hesitation. What we are witnessing here is not simply a partisan jab or a viral soundbite. It is a broader commentary on how accountability functions, or fails to function, at the highest levels of government. Crockett's remarks connect two parallel threads. On one side, there is a Congress increasingly willing to use censure, discipline, and procedural tools not as rare measures, but as routine political weapons. On the other, there is an executive branch that appears selective in its urgency, decisive in some moments, evasive in others. Crockett frames this within a larger political awakening. She speaks about elections, about shifting numbers, about lawmakers who are beginning to sense that aligning themselves unquestioningly with one figure is not a long-term strategy. Power in a democracy is temporary. Terms are finite. Careers are fragile. And when public trust erodes, it does not do so quietly. It happens town hall by town hall, election by election, question by unanswered question. The mention of the Epstein estate introduces another uncomfortable truth. Information, Crockett notes, is emerging not because of proactive government action, but because outside forces are filling the vacuum. Subpoenas remain unanswered. Oversight efforts stall. And yet documents surface anyway, carried into the public sphere by avenues that were never meant to shoulder that responsibility alone. This inversion is telling. It suggests a system where formal mechanisms exist on paper, but momentum comes from pressure, not process. Crockett's critique sharpens when she addresses contradictions. First, there was nothing left to examine. Then suddenly there is new material, new justification, new caution. To the public, this does not read as careful governance. It reads as improvisation, as a moving target, as leadership reacting rather than leading. When officials appear uncertain, when explanations change midstream, confidence does not merely decline, it fractures. This exchange also highlights a deeper tension within American governance, the struggle between institutional self-protection and democratic obligation. Agencies are designed to be methodical, to move deliberately, but democracy demands responsiveness. When those two impulses fall out of balance, frustration fills the gap. Crockett gives voice to that frustration, not just as a lawmaker, but as a representative channeling what many voters are already asking in private conversations and public forums alike. There is also an undercurrent here about credibility. Crockett references past legal losses, not to score points, but to question competence and consistency. In doing so, she raises a broader issue. When the same institutions that ask for patience repeatedly stumble in high-profile matters, patience becomes harder to justify. Trust, once strained, requires more than assurances to rebuild. It requires evidence, action, follow-through. This is why moments like this resonate beyond the chamber. They tap into a growing sense that accountability is applied unevenly, that rules are enforced selectively, and that transparency often arrives only after sustained pressure. Crockett's remarks are not a final verdict. They are an opening statement in a much longer conversation about who answers to whom and when. In the end, this is not just about one press conference or one set of files. It is about whether institutions designed to serve the public are willing to withstand discomfort in order to earn public trust. It is about whether oversight has teeth or whether it exists primarily as theater. And it is about whether those in power recognize that hesitation, evasion, and contradiction speak louder than carefully crafted statements. Democracy does not erode all at once. It frays in moments like this, when questions linger and answers stall. But it can also be strengthened in these same moments, when scrutiny is relentless and silence is no longer accepted. The choice, as always, belongs to those in power, and to the public that watches closely. If you believe accountability should not depend on pressure alone, If you believe transparency should be the rule rather than the exception, stay engaged. Support independent analysis, subscribe to Liberty Report USA, and support our work to expose the truth.